Okay, so for the, whilst our speakers are making their way up to the stage, on the, and then Dibalok, thank you, Q, and then Sean, Nancy, and Collin as well.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you guys. So now it's time to relax and to enjoy some of these incredible films we have for you this evening. And we are going to transport you around the world to these different projects, these different locations. And first, we're going to take you to Bangladesh and the Tripura Para piped water and sanitation project.
পানি আমাদের জীবনের একটা বড় অংশ জুড়ে রয়েছে এর অবদান। নদীমাতৃক দেশ হওয়ায় আমাদের দেশে পানি নির্ভর জীবন জীবিকার সাথে জড়িত অনেক মানুষ। কিন্তু পানির যোগান দেয়া আমাদের জন্য কতটা সহজ? আরও গুরুত্বপূর্ণ প্রশ্ন হলো, এদেশের সবার জন্যই কি ব্যবহারযোগ্য বা পানযোগ্য পানির ব্যবস্থা করা গেছে? এদেশের সবাইকে কি স্বাস্থ্যসম্মত পয় ব্যবস্থাপনার আওতায় আনা গেছে? সবাই কি পরিষ্কার পরিচ্ছন্নতার গুরুত্ব বোঝে? উত্তর বলার আগে চলুন আপনাদেরকে একটা জায়গার সাথে পরিচয় করিয়ে দিই। জায়গার নাম ত্রিপুরা পাড়া। বাংলাদেশের চট্টগ্রাম জেলার সীতাকুণ্ড উপজেলার সীতাকুণ্ড পৌরসভার ৫ নং ওয়ার্ডের এক প্রান্তিক আদিবাসী জনগোষ্ঠীর নাম ত্রিপুরা। মাত্র ৩২টি পরিবার এবং সর্বমোট ১৮৭ জন মানুষের এই জনগোষ্ঠীর আবাসস্থল ত্রিপুরাপাড়া দুর্গম পাহাড় ঘেরা এক সমাজ ব্যবস্থা। পানি যাদের সবচেয়ে বড় স্বপ্নের নাম। প্রতিদিন কয়েক ঘন্টার পাহাড়ি পথ পাড়ি দিয়ে পাহাড়ি ছড়া থেকে নিত্য ব্যবহার্য পানি সংগ্রহ করা ত্রিপুরাপাড়াবাসীদের জন্য এক যুদ্ধ। কৃষিকাজ নির্ভর এই নৃগোষ্ঠীর জন্য নিরাপদ পানির যোগান কখনোই সহজ ছিল না। এই দুর্বিষহ সংগ্রামের কথা শুনব কয়েকজনের মুখে।
जों सिगाङाव बुलुं बुलुं मा खिखे बुलुं बुलुं मा स्राव खुनाय मा खिखे फाक्सा फाक्सा गै जों ताव लेफ्टिन दय जों ताव कसाला थाननाया बागन बागन फाक्सा खियननाया जों ताव बागन बागन लेफ्टिन ताव गामलाय खियो आरामलाय खियो जों तिफ्रो बासिरक जों देशकिन माध्यम जों लेफ्टिन तेतिन खौ दुलम सका माने सो खुलुमु
जों आगे अनेक दैनि थाखाय खस्थ दंखा अनेक कासालामा थाङो दैनि थाङै अनेक समय लागो 2-3 घन्टा समय लागो जों दैनि थाखाय अनेक खस्थ
মানে স্বপ্ন বা তো বাস্তবে উজাই দে এত সানি পাশে দিসকে ফায়দারে ফেকে জানা তৈনি সুযোগ বা লেফটিনি সুযোগ অনেক মানে শান্তি जों এত অনেক সুখ মুইদে সানি বসাবতিরেনব অনেক লেখাপড়া শিক্ষিত হলাই মানে আশা ভবিষ্যতে ধন্যবাদ ডিএসকে ন ধন্যবাদ ডিএসকে ওয়াটারফ্রন্ট ন।
পানির সমস্যার সাথে সাথে আরও বড় সমস্যা ছিল তাদের স্বাস্থ্য সচেতনতা না থাকা, পরিচ্ছন্ন পয় নিষ্কাশনের ব্যবস্থা না থাকা এবং স্বাস্থ্যকর জীবনাচরণে অনভ্যস্ততা। আর এই বিষয়টি অনুধাবন করেছে দুস্থ স্বাস্থ্য কেন্দ্র। দুস্থ স্বাস্থ্য কেন্দ্র হল একটি বেসরকারি স্বেচ্ছাসেবী উন্নয়ন সংস্থা যারা মহান মুক্তিযুদ্ধের চেতনায় শোষণ বঞ্চনামুক্ত সাম্যের সমাজ গঠনের চিন্তা এবং দরিদ্র প্রান্তিক ও সুবিধাবঞ্চিত মানুষের উন্নয়ন ও মৌলিক চাহিদা পূরণের লক্ষ্যে ১৯৮৮ সালে আত্মপ্রকাশ করে। বর্তমানে বাংলাদেশের ১৯টি জেলায় দুস্থ স্বাস্থ্যকেন্দ্র কাজ করে যাচ্ছে।
ওয়াটারফ্রন্ট ইন্টারন্যাশনাল ইউএসএ দীর্ঘদিন যাবৎ বিশ্বের বিভিন্ন দেশে পাইপ ওয়াটার নেটওয়ার্কের মাধ্যমে দরিদ্র লোকজনের জন্য সুপেয় পানির ব্যবস্থা করে আসছে। তারই ধারাবাহিকতায় দুস্থ স্বাস্থ্য কেন্দ্র ডিএসকে ত্রিপুরাপাড়ায় আদিবাসী জনগোষ্ঠীর জন্য পাইপ ওয়াটার সাপ্লাই সিস্টেমের ব্যবস্থা নির্মাণ করেছেন। এই পাইপ ওয়াটার সাপ্লাই সিস্টেমের পানির উৎস হচ্ছে ঝর্ণা এবং ডাগওয়েল। এর মাধ্যমে 500 ফুট উঁচু পাহাড় থেকে শুরু করে বিভিন্ন উঁচু উঁচু পাহাড়ে আদিবাসী জনগোষ্ঠীদের জন্য পানির ব্যবস্থা হয়েছে। পাশাপাশি প্রত্যেকের জন্য এনভায়রনমেন্ট ফ্রেন্ডলি স্যানিটেশন ব্যবস্থা, প্রত্যেকের বাড়ির সামনে একটি করে টয়লেট আমরা দিতে পেরেছি। অনেক চ্যালেঞ্জ ফেস করে আমরা এটা করতে পেরেছি, যেহেতু ডিএসকের ডেডিকেটেড টিম তারা এখানে কাজ করেছে। ফাইনালি আমরা এটা সফলভাবে সম্পূর্ণ করতে পেরেছি।
সীতাকুণ্ড মহাদেবপুরে আমরা আদিবাসীদের জন্য পানি স্যানিটেশন যে কাজটি করেছি, এই কাজটা খুব সহজ নয়, কারণ 500 ফুট উপরে মানুষ বসবাস করে এবং পাহাড়ের পাদদেশে বসবাস করে। এই দুই অংশকে পানির ব্যবস্থা করানো এটা আমাদের জন্য একটা কঠিন ছিল। কমিউনিটির সাথে যখন আমরা প্রথম আলোচনা করি তখন কমিউনিটি বিশ্বাস করতে চায়নি, তারা মনেই করেনি যে এটা এরকম কোনো একটি ব্যবস্থা হতে পারে। পরবর্তীতে তাদের সাথে যখন আমরা আলোচনা করি দিনের পর দিন, তখন তারা সম্মত হয়। কমিউনিটি, জমির মালিক এবং প্রশাসনের সাথে দীর্ঘ আলোচনার পরে আমরা বেজলাইন সার্ভে করে এই জায়গাটা সিলেক্ট করেছি। আদিবাসীদের জন্য বঞ্চিত মানুষের জন্য কাজ করা এটা চ্যালেঞ্জের বিষয়। সেই চ্যালেঞ্জটা ডিএসকে নিয়েছে। এই ধরনের কাজ ডিএসকে সক্ষমতা বৃদ্ধি করে, ডিএসকে মর্যাদাকে আরও বেশি শক্তিশালী করে।
এই প্রকল্পের মধ্য দিয়ে ত্রিপুরা পাড়ায় স্থাপিত করা হয়েছে পাহাড়ি ঝর্ণার পানিকে ফিল্টার করার জন্য ফিল্টার বেড ও ফিল্টার মিডিয়া, 2 চেম্বারের আন্ডারগ্রাউন্ড ওয়াটার রিসিভার ট্যাঙ্ক, 17,000 লিটার ধারণ ক্ষমতা সম্পন্ন আন্ডারগ্রাউন্ড রিজার্ভার ট্যাঙ্ক, 2টি রিং ওয়েল, 3টি ওভারহেড রিজার্ভার ট্যাঙ্ক যেগুলোর ধারণ ক্ষমতা যথাক্রমে 7,500 লিটার, 5,000 লিটার ও 500 লিটার, 4,000 ওয়াটের সোলার প্যানেল, সোলার কন্ট্রোল রুম, ক্লোরিন ডোজিং পাম্প, সাবমার্সিবল পাম্প, সেলো পাম্প, 30টি ওয়াটার পয়েন্ট, 26টি স্বাস্থ্যসম্মত ল্যাট্রিন, 30টি ওয়াটার মিটার ও ওয়েস্ট ম্যানেজমেন্ট বিন। এছাড়াও রয়েছে 15 জন ত্রিপুরার সমন্বয়ে গঠিত একটি কমিউনিটি বেসড অর্গানাইজেশন, যেটি সার্বক্ষণিক পাইপ ওয়াটার সিস্টেম প্রকল্পের বিভিন্ন দিক নিয়ে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ সিদ্ধান্ত গ্রহণ এবং কার্যকরী ভূমিকা পালন করে থাকে। এবার সেই প্রশ্নের উত্তর দেবার পালা। ত্রিপুরা পাড়ার বাসিন্দাদের পানির সমস্যা দূর হয়েছে, তার সাথে দূর হয়েছে অস্বাস্থ্যকর পয়ঃনিষ্কাশন ব্যবস্থা। পরিবর্তন এসেছে ত্রিপুরাদের জীবনাচরণে, নারী ও শিশুদের সেই অক্লান্ত পরিশ্রমেরও পরিবর্তন এসেছে। তারা এখন পরিবারের জীবিকা উপার্জনেও রাখছে বড় ভূমিকা। তারা জানেন পরিষ্কার পরিচ্ছন্নতার গুরুত্ব এবং স্বাস্থ্যকর পয়ঃনিষ্কাশনের উপকারিতা। তারা এখন পেয়েছে এক স্বাচ্ছন্দ্যময় জীবন। ত্রিপুরা পাড়ার মতো এভাবেই বাংলাদেশের সকল অতিপ্রান্তিক এলাকায় কাজ করে যাচ্ছে দুস্থ স্বাস্থ্য কেন্দ্র ডিএসকে ফর দ্য পুয়ার, ভালনারেবল অ্যান্ড ডিসঅ্যাডভান্টেজড সিন্স 1988।
Applause for the first film. Thank you. Dibalok, great to see you. You are the Executive Director of DSK. Amazing video, I think, to show overcoming a really challenging situation, 500 feet, where young girls are walking 3 hours to find water beforehand. But really, your organization specializes in providing water to these sort of hard-to-reach, challenging areas as well, right? Can you talk to us a bit about that?
Thank you, Tom. Actually, as per our organization's strategic plan, we work in different difficult and hard-to-reach areas. Like in Bangladesh, we have Chor island areas, we have coastal areas, and we have difficult access of population in slums of Bangladesh. Actually, this settlement, in our time, they were devoid of access to regular water service. There is no electricity in this settlement. There is no pathway, and there is no sanitation, and there is a very limited access to a tiny stream of water coming out of the local adjacent hill. So it was our kind of commitment that this organization was founded to work for the disadvantaged population in Bangladesh. So we thought that we must be able to be successful to bring regular water service to this settlement. And our experience of providing solar-powered piped water supply in Rohingya refugee camps, that actually pushed us to install this type of water system in this community. And for that matter, actually, we first engaged with the community to make them understand and make them believe and feel confident that this type of system works here in Bangladesh, not something anywhere else.
So that was the initial resistance, almost convincing them that the system would work and giving them the confidence to know that your organization would be able to deliver that.
Because previously they had this bitter experience of some other organization to bring water supply to their homes, but that was unsuccessful. So it was initially difficult for us. And another difficulty was this hilly area that is being leased to a private owner. And it was our duty to convince private owner that bringing permanent water supply services will not hinder his interest, because he was then thinking, okay, now they are bringing some legal services, permanent services, and then these people will demand that this land belongs to them, and then where he will go. So he was suspicious about this. But we convinced him that, look, we are working for the benefit of these people, and if you allowed this to be materialized, then that will bring also glory to you. People will remain more respectful to you that this landowner, he is flexible and he allows to improve our life. And as the video went on, that imagine yourself that you don't have any water in your home and you have to travel 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, 3 kilometer to fetch water, and that water is not easily coming out to your pot. You have to bring water to your pot, then sip by sip, drop by drop, you have to fill your pitcher, and then you hand carry that pitcher to your home every day. And this actually falls on the shoulder of women and adolescent girls. That is a very difficult situation. And in this video, when I see that this woman who is opening her tap and becomes very happy, smiles, actually that brought tears in my eyes. Because when we started, it took us during COVID time, we started that, and it was a very difficult period. Mm-hmm. And going to that settlement is also very difficult. Bringing all the construction materials to that site on head was a really, really tough, challenging job. But
Dibalok, thank you so much. It's interesting to hear, and especially how rewarding that was to you, and really the challenge of helping to convince the landowner as well. So we're going to hear a bit later on about some of the collaboration and the partnerships involved. So thank you for the documentary. We're now going to move to Albania with the first of 2 videos as part of award-winning short films and a movement as part of the hashtag Let's Talk Period campaigns. So yeah, let's play the video.
Let's Talk Period! Ato kanë emër!
Ky është një dokumentar për ato, por ato kanë emër dhe sot do t'i thërrasim në emër. Perioda, menstruacione. Një nga mesazhet pastaj më të tmerrshme është edhe ky që dua ta ndaj me ju. Ka dhe kështu që në klasë të 6 më erdhën perioda dhe mbaj mend që babi fliste me mamin dhe thonin mos ta dërgojmë në shkollë. Se tashi u bëra grua dhe isha zhvilluar shumë. Dhe që në klasë të 6 dhe sot që jam 28 vjeç, nuk I pash më dyert e shkollës.
Ka marrë shumë mesazhe zemërthyese si ky. A janë menstruacionet ende një tabu në Shqipëri? Tani do të takoj disa nxënës shkollash për të mësuar rreth përvojave të tyre.
Si ka qenë klasë 6 dhe kam qenë me cikël ato kohë dhe kisha një lines në çantë. Edhe nuk isha për momentin në bankën time dhe erdhi shoku im edhe pa hapte çantën, si kanë çuna që tallën, shikojnë ai gjë kështu. Edhe kur pa linesin filloi bërtisën klasë, majla që nga kështu edhe po qesh e tallë. Fillun dhe çunat e tjerë mu më erdhi shumë turp, pash. Edhe I thash, ke punë të kontrollosh me çantën time edhe.
I the dikujt u ankove për shembull te zysha ose diku apo të duk një gjë e sikletshme?
Më erdhi sikletë edhe turp që mori vesh klasë, domethënë çunat se goca s'është problem, po e kalova.
Djema, ju keni informacion për sa I përket ciklit menstrual, a keni motra në shtëpi ose me mamin, me babin, ka rënë ndonjëherë diskutime për të folur për periodat?
Në fakt, në shtëpi nuk është se ka rënë ndonjëherë ky diskutim.
Ke motor?
Po, unë kam motor.
Sa ty, më e madhe me vogël?
Është më e madhe se unë, është disa vite më e madhe se unë. Po nuk është se në shtëpi ka qenë ndonjëherë ndonjë rast specifik që të bisedoj për këtë pjesë. Kam informacion për këtë pjesë nga informacione që kam marrë në lëndën e biologjisë, por nuk është se di shumë gjëra, sepse është diçka që nuk më përket dhe
Ti mendoj që s'të përket?
Po,
është një gjë që s'ke pse të kesh interes.
Po. Do të thënë nuk kam interes për atë pjesë.
Mungesa e njohurive dhe ndjesia e turpit janë ende problem. Kjo madje mund të çojë në situata të rrezikshme shëndetësore.
Unë jam prekur nga ajo
sëmundje,
po, me të vërtet. Dhe jo vetëm
infekcion?
Po. Dhe u detyrova nga që sado po mundohesha ta mbaja të fshehtë sepse nuk mundja të tregoja prindërve, sepse mendova se do më kalonte vetë dhe ishte edhe pjesa e turpit, më vinte turp ta tregoja dhe në momentin e parë normal që hapëm me mamin, por më pas ndërkohë që s'mundi avancon në diçka që nuk mund të mbahet e fshehtë dhe normale dhe pastaj me familje. Dhe ilaçet dhe kura që mora ishte një mësim për mua që kjo nuk do të ndodhte më, do të isha...
Se ti e le deri në atë gradë sëmundjen tënde, sa që u detyrove të merret kura kaq të rënda. Po ç'a, pse? Kishe turp për faktin që ishte në organet e tua riprodhuese?
Po, e para ishte pjesa e turpit dhe nuk doja që të tregoja.
Është ronditse të dëgjosh histori të tilla dhe në klasë më tregojnë për një problem të përhapur që e përkeqëson edhe më shumë situatën, kushtet jo të mira higjieno-sanitare.
Kemi pasur ujë që ishte kryesor për higjienën tonë. Domethënë, nuk ishte as pastërtia, jo që tonë ne, por nuk ishin kushtet që të mbaheshin të pastra dhe normal që
e tmerrshme. Po mirë, po gjatë ciklit menstrual për shembull goca, kur donin të ndroheshit ose Ç'a ndodhte?
Zakonisht shkonin të merrnin vlim mësuese për të shkuar në shtëpi.
A shkonin në shtëpi?
Po.
Aq e tmerrshme ishte situata.
Po, nuk kishte edhe ujë të bollshëm për të pastruar.
E kuptoj.
Okej.
Fatmirësisht, tualetet u rinovuan në vitin 2021. Tualetet e pastra e bëjnë këtë shkollë një vend më të shëndetshëm dhe i ndihmojnë vajzat mos të humbasin asnjë ditë shkolle gjatë periudhës së ciklit të tyre mujor.
Koshin për të hedhur letrat dhe të gjitha mbeturinat e tjera, çdo gjë e pastër, ja ku është edhe pastruesi tualetit, bukur fort.
Po.
Pasi kam folur me vajzat dhe djemt, dua të marr perspektivën e brezit të vjetër. Jam shumë e lumtur që zonja Lida dhe zonja Leme, nëna dhe gjyshja e Markelës, pranuan të më takonin. Ndihem e lumtur, sidomos për gjyshen Leme, që pranon të flas për këtë temë, që dikur për të ishte tabu.
Po, se ashtu ishte sistemi më atë kohë. Ashtu ishte, nuk ishin të zhvillur njerëzit, nuk komunikojnë për këtë gjëra fare.
Fare, asnjëherë?
Jo.
Ti me mamin tënd nuk e folur kur?
Jo.
Kur?
Jo.
Po,
për ato gjëra, jo.
Asnjëherë. Po me motor ke pasur?
E kam pasur motor e martuar, jo. Nuk komunikojnë. Fare, vetëm me veten tonë.
Ku i merrnit ju informacionin?
Hiç, vetëm me menjen tonë, kështu. Vetëm me trurin.
Po mirë, po ti vetë me gocën tënde, me Lidën, ke folur?
Ja.
As ti nuk ke folur me Lidën. O Lida, po ti si e more vesh për ciklin? Ti je 40 vjeç. Mami është 65. Po mami kur e mori vesh që të kishte ardhur cikli?
Vonë fare.
Vonë? Po pse, ja fshije napa?
Po.
Vërtet?
Po i fshije.
Do me thënë i pastroje...
I laja, i pastroja, po në tel më duksha si gjë.
Po ju zonjë në të vërtet, e keni kuptuar momentin kur Lida ka filluar ciklin? Apo se ke kuptuar?
Jo.
Nuk e ke kuptuar? Kur e ke kuptuar për herë të parë që ndoshta mund të
Bas një viti ka qenë.
Bas një viti. Ka që zonja ishte ti për ta mbajtur të fshehtë, Shiko, ne ishim duke folur pak për pjesën e higjienës dhe sidomos për ujin që është shumë i rëndësishëm, aq më tepër pastaj për pastërtinë gjatë ciklit se shumë infeksione vijnë ndoshta nga mospasja e informimit ose kanë qenë ca kështu ca mite, nuk e di keni pasur ju që kur je me cikël s'duhet lahesh. E keni pasur se...
Po, ashtu ishte.
Ne nuk lame.
Vazhdoni e keni?
Të dërçu gjithë trupin jo.
Dhe që nuk duhet bësh dush ose dush trupit, vetëm...
E kemi.
Vazhdon akoma. Po ti Margele, beson këtë gjë? Jo. Tani, pse ka lindur ky miti? Se jam shumë kurioze ta di. Qa besoj?
Prishën anë të fëmirit.
Si?
Anët e fëmirit.
Vezoret?
Vezoret, po.
Prishën vezoret, në qoftë se ti lahesh ndërkohë që ke ciklin. Interesante. Se dija pse mund të ishte kjo. Unë kam dëgjuar një kështu mit tjetër që thoshte ti ndërpret. Se po u lave, ujë ti ndërpret.
Ose mos turën më shumë.
Të vinë më shumë, po.
Jo, në qoftë se lamë, ndërpritën direkt.
Po.
Është e vështirë të besohet, por keqkuptime të tilla janë ende shumë të përhapura në vendin tonë, por duket se ka një rrugë për ta përmirësuar këtë situatë. Por si? Po takoj dikë që punon prej shumë vitesh në këtë fushë, zonja Dorina Toçaj, nga UNFPA Shqipëri. Ajo ka një këndvështrim të qartë për problemin themelor.
Duhen konsideruar si një çështje të drejtave të njerëzit dhe pra duhet të interesojë të gjithë shoqërisë, përfshirë dhe djemve dhe burrave, dhe nëse ne përfshim në diskutimet tona, në punën tonë, edhe fuqizimin e djemve me informacion për sa i përket shëndetit në përgjithësi dhe me fokus më të veçantë edukimin seksual, atëherë do i kemi partner për sa i përket adresimit të problematikave lidhur me ato fenomene që na çojnë drejt jo barazisë gjinore.
Dorina më thotë se UNFPA ka iniciuar disa nisma për të përmirësuar edukimin shëndetësor.
Tani përpos mësuesve në shkollat e sistemit bazë, shkollat e mesme, dhe jo vetëm mësuesit e lëndëve, po gjithashtu punojësit social, psikologët, oficerët e sigurisë janë një armat e tërë personeli që punon në shkollat, të cilët janë në fokus, janë një target group për të gjitha ndërhyrjet që ne kemi për përmirësimin e edukimit shëndetësor në moshat 10 deri në 18 vjeç.
Me këtë projekt, dua gjithashtu të kontribuoj dhe në rritjen e ndërgjegjësimit, dhe pse jo, të nisim një lëvizje.
Mirë, përpara se të vazhdojmë me Bërzdylykut, unë doja që t'ju pyesja, si mendoni, që do më thënë kjo logoja këtu?
Besoj që është shenja e ciklit menstrual.
Bravo, janë 5 ditët e ciklit në fakt, që ne kemi vendosur edhe t'i kemi si logo të gjithë këtij produksioni.
Pikat janë bërë tashmë një simbol global për menstruacionet.
1, 2, 3. Pra zyrtarisht, shkolla Vasil Kamami është pjesë e fushatës tonë 5 Red Dots. Faleminderit.
Edhe unë zyrtarisht pjesë e fushatës.
Dua ta përfundoj udhëtimin tim me një tjetër mesazh që kam marrë.
Super temë, faleminderit që po flet. Në fshatin ku jetojnë prindrit e mi, akoma nuk mund të blesh peceta se je kurv. Po e bleve pecetën, sidomos nëse në dyqan shet një djalë.
Le ta sfidojmë këtë tabu.
Përshëndetje.
Ta riskirojmë të?
Jo, ashtu su që kemë. Komo.
Okej.
Nuk ka asgjë për të ardhur tur, për të pasur droj apo siklet, të shkosh në market dhe të mblesh peceta higjienike, edhe në qoftë se shitësi është djalë ose burrë dhe nuk është e nevojshme ti mbështjelli me gazet apo ti fusim në 7 qese që mos të duken. Është diçka biologjike, një gjë që po të ndodh ty. Edhe në qoftë se bota e di se ti je në ditën e parë, të 2, të 3, të 4 të ciklit, edhe çfarë pastaj?
Fatma, welcome to Stockholm. I think this is your first World Water Week.
Yes.
Clearly you're no stranger to the TV, to the stage, to the bright lights. You are a TV host, journalist, and goodwill ambassador. Now I liked Really interesting documentary, and you described it as a journey, as your own journey almost across Albania. But I'd like to know, how did you sort of get involved? And we'll come on to the partnerships and the collaboration later on, but how did you sort of first come into this project, if you like?
Before I continue, I would like you to be part of our campaign and have our bracelet. It would mean a lot to us.
Oh, for me to...
Yes,
absolutely,
yes.
Yeah. I would love to. Nice surprise, thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations, you are part of our campaign now, officially.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here, and it's an honor and a pleasure to bring such topics to the attention of all the world now, because from a local production, I hope it becomes, as it is going on, a global movement. When I first got the invitation from GIZ Albania, they told me it would be a delicate matter. It is something that is still taboo in our country and in other countries as well, because I know maybe the surface looks brighter and better in other places, but under the surface, I mean, it's still a taboo talking about menstruation, even in big countries like USA. So I think it is time we talk about period without shaming, without taboo, and without feeling frustrated. So this is the first thing that came to my mind when GIZ Albania invited me. I said yes, and I didn't want to think further about it. I think my voice as a public figure in Albania should be used for such topics that have a big impact in, especially in women's life. And when we started the campaign on socials, it was like a survey to figure out how the public would welcome this documentary. What would the feeling be? Would there be a lot of backlash? Because we were a little afraid of the backlash. It is because when you go in certain matters, I mean, you have to be very careful how you transmit your message out there and how you talk to the people. I think part of the success of this campaign is the fact that we went on the field. We were reachable. We went to the heart of the problem, starting from a school that didn't have a toilet. So girls were missing out days of school just because they had their menstruation, and it's horrible. I mean, it's unthinkable. And since here we have gender inequality, because they miss around 60 days a year of information and education, so boys are advanced. And I think that the main purpose of the whole movement that now is global, and I hope it continues in other countries as well, is to raise awareness about it's not just periods, it's not just menstruation, it's us, it's female body. It's something so natural. We are designed biologically to menstruate because we give life. I mean, it's the most wonderful thing that could happen to a woman, is to have her menstruation. I mean, and we don't celebrate. I think this would be the day we celebrate ourselves. But in fact, what happens in reality, we shy away. We are told that now we are grown up, we cannot play with our friends anymore. You heard the story about the girl who missed school. She never went to school again because her parents thought she was old enough. Maybe in 2 years, like 12 years, she even got engaged or got married. So another girl told us that when she had her first menstruation, her mother beat her because it was such a trauma even for her, and she couldn't afford it, not economically and not mentally. She wasn't prepared herself, you know, to handle a full home with 4 girls having menstruation, because we have to look at it even on the as a financial burden, unfortunately.
I think in the, sorry to cut it, in the documentary, and we'll come on to the second one next, for me, it was just quite alarming at the intergenerational kind of misconceptions
Yes.
between the mothers and daughters.
Yes.
And what had been passed through families. So not only you've got the capacity building of improved hygiene led to
Yes.
improved facilities for young girls to then go back into school, but also to try and kind of almost re-educate and address some of those taboos. So we're gonna come back onto the collaboration, the partnerships, and the impact during the panel. But to sort of tee up the next video, it's not just in Albania, right? There's actually a video in Nepal.
It
So if you
started in Nepal, actually, and then came to Albania, and I hope it goes in other countries as well. Even in Nepal, there are some sad stories, and the fact that it is so hard to have clean water. Still, we are suffering to have clean water, and you can have so much diseases and health complication because you don't have access to water. So it's the case of Nepal, and I'm very happy that even the Nepal story, Nepal clip, had a lot of reach out in the social media as well, because I think we are one. It doesn't matter what the name of the country is. The issues, the taboos, if you see, and if now that we're going to watch the documentary, it's quite the same things. And I'm really sure that even if we talk among us, I can find some women that maybe in their home they don't discuss their periods, even with their husbands, or I may tell you for sure there are grown-up men that are disgusted by menstruations and still act like, yucky, do we have to talk about this topic? Because I had this experience myself while I was doing the documentary, and I was talking on my different friend groups, and I would never thought that would be grown-up and well-educated men who were so grossed out by periods, just because of the lack of the information.
Well, Fatma, in my house, I have two young daughters, and one of them's 11, and we are getting to that stage where we have no choice. Well, we are talking about it, and I know we're being quite proactive with kind of stories and books to help kind of in the years to come. So thank you very much for the bracelet. We'll wear it with pride. But you mentioned the Nepal documentary, so why don't we take a look at that now? Thank you.
Hi, we need to talk about menstruation. Don't be ashamed, it won't hurt. Girls and women in my country have been facing many challenges during their periods. Some are not even allowed to stay in their own house and are considered impure. Periods can also be one of the reasons for girls to miss a school. In recent years, many stakeholders have come together to bring about change. Our government itself has started an initiative to provide free sanitary pads for school girls. But is that enough? I want to find out on how far Nepal has come in tackling the challenges surrounding menstruation. Let me take you to this special journey. In part 1 of my journey, I visit Durga High School in Western Nepal, about 1 hour's flight from Kathmandu. 16-year-old Bimala takes me with her to class. May I come in? Namaste, namaste, namaste. I take part in a lesson, the kind of which didn't happen when I was at school.
यो अवधि चाहिँ 1 देखि 4 दिनसम्मको रक्तस्राव बग्ने पहिलो हो। यसको समयावधि चाहिँ कसैलाई
Menstrual health has been on the school curriculum here for several years, an important component in the battle against taboos and misconceptions that surround the topic.
यो त बुझ्यौ नि?
हजुर
बुझ्यौ?
म एउटा प्रश्न गर्छु है त। ओके, तपाईहरुसँग एउटा प्रश्न गरौँ? महिनावारी भनेको के हो त मलाई कसले राम्रोसँग बुझाइदिन सक्छ? भाइले? के हो महिनावारी भनेको?
किशोर अवस्थादेखि करिब 49 वर्षसम्म हरेक महिलाहरू
चिटिङ गरे जस्तो छ। अर्को भाइलाई कसलाई थाहा छ? त्यहाँ भएको पढ्नु पर्दैन? महिनावारी भनेको चाहिँ के हो जस्तो लाग्छ के हुन्छ महिनावारीमा जस्तो लाग्छ भाइलाई थाहा छैन अर्को भाइलाई के हो
महिलाहरूको योनि अङ्गबाट रगत आउनुलाई महिनावारी भनिन्छ
हो अनि यो चाहिँ महिनामा कतिचोटि हुन्छ त
यो महिनाको यो 1 दिनदेखि 4 दिनसम्म हुन्छ
होला थ्याङ्क यू सबैले क्ल्याप बजाइदिनु भाइलाई After the lesson, I talked to some of the girls. What does it mean to them for menstruation to be addressed openly, even in the presence of the boys?
यस्तो हुन्छ अब स्वास्थ्य विषय पढ्दाखेरि नै केटाहरू त अलगै टाइपको हुन्छन् कि तिनीहरू अब स्वास्थ्यमा त किशोरावस्थाको बारेमा यौन शिक्षा सम्बन्धी धेरै विषयहरू महिनावारी सम्बन्धी पढाइ हुन्छ नि त केटाहरूले अलगै नजरले हेर्ने के बेग्लै नजरले हेर्ने जिस्क्याउने गर्छन् नि त त्यही भएर पनि सरहरूले खुलेर पढाइदिँदाखेरि एकदम सजिलो हुन्छ
अनि तिम्रो केही त्यस्तो अनुभव छ पहिला अब कति वर्षको उमेरमा हुँदाखेरि अनुभव कस्तो थियो अनि त्यति बेलामा के बार्नु पर्यो के छ अनुभव
त्यति बेला म चाहिँ फर्स्ट ग्रेड 12 वर्षमै भएको त्यति बेला त केही थाहा थिएन त्यति बेला चाहिँ म गोठमा बसेको होइन त्यति बेला अब धेरै छुवाछुत पनि धेरै थियो भित्र पनि जान दिँदैन थिए किचनमा पनि जान दिँदैन थिए बाहिरै बस्नु पर्थ्यो 12 दिनसम्म चाहिँ बाहिरै बसेको अब आजभोलि चाहिँ त्यस्तो छैन भित्रै बसिन्छ त्यति भेदभाद पनि छैन
हाम्रो चाहिँ मगर समुदायमा भन्नुपर्दा चाहिँ त्यस्तो यस्तो दाइभाइको अनुहार नहेर्ने घामलाई नहेर्ने यस्तो भन्ने चाहिँ हुँदैन होइन यस्तो देउताको ठाउँमा अनि किचनमा जान दिँदैनन् अनि यस्तो छुन हल्का यस्तो हुन्छ नि त्यस्तो दिँदैनन् अनि नत्र त त्यस्तो चाहिँ फ्रिडम छ
Girls and women are not allowed to enter temples and worship during menstruation, not only here in Western Nepal. Most women and girls in Nepal still adhere to this restriction. I want to learn about the hygienic conditions here at school. I have often heard about girls staying at home during their periods because it is unpleasant to change their sanitary pads at school. Bimala tells me this used to be a problem here too. She shows me one of the old toilets. Okay, you'd not want to use the toilet here. Never mind, change a sanitary pad. Fortunately, new toilet facilities have been built on the school grounds in 2020. Things look better here. It's clean and there are bins for sanitary pads and running water too. So, yeta nai use garchhau praya. Nice. Bimala shows me another improvement at her school. These pipes are simple but effective hand washing stations. They are refilled every morning. The big advantage? Many pupils can wash their hands here at the same time. Things have changed at the girls' school. There are suitable toilets and menstruation is no longer such a taboo. The girls don't dread going to school during their period anymore. I want to know what the situation in the villages near the school is like. Most families here are farmers. Many men are seasonal workers in India. While they are gone, women have to handle all the work and household chores on their own. Bimala takes me to her family. अनि भनेको छ हामी आउँदैछौँ भनेर
हजुर भनेछौँ एकदम खुसी
छक्क पर्नु होला
हजुर
त्यही त नि
त्यहाँ मम्मी
ए नमस्ते 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 हजुर त बसौँ हामी
हजुर हुन्छ त्यता बसौँ
आराम हुनुहुन्छ
हजुर आराम आफ्नो सुनाउनु पर्यो
सब ठिक छ कतिको गाह्रो भयो लकडाउनमा समय
बिताउन हाम्रो छोराछोरीको पढाइ बिग्रियो त्यति
The schools here were closed during the lockdown too. Many children have even quit school completely. Families here can't afford homeschooling or even online lessons. जस्तो त्यति बेला र अहिले तपाईले चाहिँ के फरक पाउनुहुन्छ महिनावारी कतिको आफूले अहिले बार्नुहुन्छ कतिको छोरीहरुलाई बार्न लाउनुहुन्छ के कस्तो परिवर्तन यहाँले देख्नु भएको छ
त्यति त बार्न पठाएको छैन आजकल त त्यहाँ भान्सामा भयो पूजामा जान्दैन अलि सुत्छौं कोठामा
हजुर अनि भान्सा र कोठामा चाहिँ खास किन जान नदिने जस्तो लाग्छ तपाईलाई के कारण
गाउँघरको चलन त्यही छ सबले त्यस्तै गराछन् अब हामीले पनि त्यस्तै गराएको
सामाजिक रीतिरिवाज मानेको जस्तो खालको किनभने समाजमै बस्नु छ भन्ने हिसाबले
अब समाजमा चल्नै पर्छ
हजुर जस्तो छोरी पढ्न थालेदेखि विद्यालय जान थालेदेखि के परिवर्तन पाउनु भएको छ उसको सोचाइमा उसले महिनावारीलाई पहिला कति एउटा डरको रूपमा समाजले यो भन्ला त्यो भन्ला भन्ने रूपमा लिनु र अब अहिले पढिसकेपछि चाहिँ हुन्छ नि मम्मी यस्तो मान्नु हुन्न रहेछ यस्तो चिजले केही फरक पर्दैन भनेर उसले तपाईलाई त्यसरी के सम्झाएको छ
हजुर सम्झाएको त्यस्तो के हैन त्यस्तो मान्नु हुँदैन भन्छ
अनि जस्तो अहिले चाहिँ यो महिनावारी भइसकेपछि तपाईले प्रयोग गर्ने कपडा भन्नुभयो नि त्यो कपडालाई चाहिँ कहाँ लगेर व्यवस्थापन गर्नुहुन्छ कसरी त्यसलाई चाहिँ म्यानेज गरिरहनु भएको छ तपाईहरुले
त्यही पानी भएको ठाउँ लग्यो त्यही धुएर अनि सुकाएर त्यो प्रयोग गर्ने
Most women and girls in the countryside use cloth pads. They don't have access to alternative products. But this is also slowly changing, as I would later find out. With this, part 1 of my journey comes to an end. I have found out that menstruation is no longer such a taboo as it was only a few years ago. Schools play a central role in this. I can only hope that the long school closures during the lockdown don't hinder this progress. This would impact our girls twofold. In the next part, I'll meet people who have established a network to speed up societal change around menstruation. I'll surprise the participants of a workshop on menstruation and women empowerment. The choice is yours. That also goes for our haircuts. I'll manufacture my first sanitary pad in Semjong. And I'll take a look at how worms could help in the disposal of single-use pads in the future. Stay tuned.
Let's have a round of applause for Nepal's menstrual movement. Thank you, Fatma, as well. So another really interesting mini documentary, the first of multiple parts, sort of looking at the role of improved hygiene and wash in Nepal, breaking taboos, looking at also breaking the sort of generational norms that seem to follow between the families as well. So now from Nepal, we're going to move to Malawi, and we're going to look at the Streams innovation, which is building sustainable wash in healthcare facilities. So on to the next documentary.
The COVID pandemic taught us many things, reminding us of the importance of hand washing with soap and how masks can provide a barrier to prevent the spread of disease. When a patient visits a healthcare facility, she should expect a safe environment in which skilled professionals address her illness, injury, or need. Yet to avoid disease and provide a safe environment for patients and staff, health facilities must have a reliable supply of clean, safe water. Water to clean hands, wounds, instruments, walls, and floors. Water for drinking, food preparation, taking medicine. Healthcare centers need functioning sanitation, clean, well-located, and labeled latrines. They need waste management systems and equipment. Finally, they must embrace comprehensive hygiene practices. In reality, how safe are these facilities? Globally, 1 in 5 healthcare facilities has no basic water service. 1.7 billion people lack safe water at their healthcare facility. In the 46 least developed countries of the world, the situation is much worse. 1/2 of all facilities lack basic water service. In Malawi, levels of service vary. Too often, problems arise that affect water supply. Repairs get delayed and parts are scarce. Water quality is often poor. Sanitation adds to the problem with not enough toilets or broken toilets and poor access for the disabled. Centers suffer from lack of knowledge of cleaning practices, lack of hand-washing infrastructure, and proper behaviors.
Malawi was chosen as the test site for a program called Streams. Transform International was already working in Malawi, in Rumpi district. Rumpi is home to 18 healthcare facilities, including 2 hospitals. The district covers almost 5,000 square kilometers with close to 230,000 people. Tools such as the World Health Organization's WashFit program were available but not implemented in Rumpi district. WashFit's continuous improvement systems have a positive effect on quality of care behaviors, but it's put a spotlight on infrastructure and skills deficiencies. These need a different solution. The team conceived a more comprehensive approach using a modified version of the circuit riders, supporting local washfit efforts within a broader strategy to deal with the systematic deficiencies. Circuit riders are mobile experts who move regularly between locations, supplementing existing capacity, training, monitoring, and reporting.
Ngana mumunyani wayoyera kuyana na kanza ukondo kweniso tukuonaso kutukaa ukondo ganyitu la dokta na ise tukwiza nga bakwiza mapatient kali ubali bakubalimbikisanga banyitu kuti bakwezenge mumawoko kweniso iwo nao kala bakuta kwa patient bakubakubya safe mumawoko mwakutukolelera kuyana na kuti tikofa tumatenda yanga farikiranga kweniso pale vifukwa vinyage hivyo nga komiti ya washfit ikuona kuta hivi tingachita kwe pale vinyage kupaiseteka tingachita cha ndicho so karapasi na kupempa ku aupangi katika saupangini kuti mwaunu bisakaoneke kuwa ngani hivi komiti ni pamoja ya kuona vifukwa vya sanitation so lekane ise kililimu.
The situation with the water supply, sanitation, as well as hygiene practices in our healthcare facilities was not quite good, and this was very much justified by the surveys that were conducted around 2019 and 2020 by a consortium of organizations from North America. These are Transform International, Desert Research Institute, and the Royal Roads University. After those surveys, it was established that the situation in the healthcare facilities in our district is not good. So a program was designed to take care for this, and this program called the Strengthening, Training, Empowerment, and the Monitoring Systems was designed. It was meant to look at improving water supply, sanitation situation, as well as hygiene practices. And this program here in Malawi, it was branded as a Circuit Riders program.
As Flument explained, Rumpi district is piloting this innovative solution called streams, including 2 distinct types of circuit riders who work in pairs. These trained experts routinely visit healthcare centers, doing assessments, training, and mentoring staff, and finding solutions. Technical circuit riders deal with infrastructure issues. Quality of care circuit riders coach, mentor, and train on model practices. These circuit riders are in turn supported by the Regional Health Administration in collaboration with local and international NGOs.
In terms of knowledge, people had no knowledge or had little knowledge in terms of hand hygiene, cleaning. So we provided trainings in those areas, and now we can see that they are doing according to what is required. So despite the hardware part, the facilities, also in terms of the software, wash software, they are also doing good.
But in the Streams program, I'm working as a circuit rider, quality of care, or I can say quality of care circuit rider. So this program basically is using government workers in order to achieve sustainability of the project.
Streams program was developed after an assessment. We did an assessment as a district. During that assessment, we identified some gaps. So as part of addressing those gaps, we thought of coming up with an intervention and a program which is Streams. We have circuit riders who go in different, who are placed in different catchment areas. They go for supervision without being called, do some maintenance work, and for quality of care, they provide the knowledge programs that are directed to behavior change. For example, trainings and in terms of skills and knowledge, making sure that health workers acquire those skills. We've seen benefits a lot, and I will just mention a few. For example, the vision of the district is to make sure that health is for all. And in making sure that health is for all, we target water, sanitation, and hygiene. So those things in terms of hand washing facilities are placed close to the toilet, which is recommended so that people make use of those facilities. We had cholera outbreak. During the cholera outbreak, we had high numbers, but then we managed to contain cholera using a lot of programs that we intervened, but the stream program was part of it. We managed to contain the cholera that was in the district. As of now, we don't have any cholera case. People don't get infection from the hospital. So we want everyone who come with another condition, they should go home with healed, not getting infections from the hospital. We are targeting the infection-free environment, free from hospital-acquired infections.
Nina mwana wa 6 huyo daily wakulwala nkuzanga na ipano kwa chipatala. Kweni kufumira kumanyuma huku tikasuzikanga nkhando ya kutayiko kiswaso. Tikatayanga makwao kwepa tataya kasanganga tulagaru wakanyamulangasi kizasona vupano kwa chipatala. Kweni kwiza kwa project hii kulusanga kuti pali mabini ya nanda tutayanga mu kiswaswa and so tukhalangaso mwa kumasuka pali jinyalala chichosi cha. Pa chipatala pakuonekanga so clean tukugonanga so malo yawe. Ndito.
Ono ya imweta uvirika maji ya pafupi, shawa ya kufuma, tugeza, mpope, kujumulika makola toileti, makola waka, vindu kutiendera mwe. Kwa fungo tukutika susikanga, kwe soni ya mtenu so watisanga, nditu. Umiyamika nditu maitu. Matupangiza mtende uwemi.
And how we can maintain the electrical things such as bulbs and the like. In most of health center facilities, we find out that there are small issues. You can find out that there is a bulb holder which is not functioning, and it is taking more than a month for it to be maintained. So the stream it helps us with those skills, and those skills are helping us on how we can keep on maintaining in the facilities.
Seeing such kind of changes or achievements coming through, then it makes me feel good and proud that something is happening and we are changing for the better.
This program in Malawi became possible through a unique partnership. A collaboration of international NGOs, supported in part by the Government of Canada, provides planning, skills training, coordination, and partial funding.
The heart of the program is the growing teamwork between local health authorities, their communities, and non-government firms such as DAMRA and RDP. After only a year, streams had seen significant improvement in wash practices. The problems in Rumpi are now well documented. Action through better training, access to equipment and parts, and the encouragement of local capacity is leading to sustainable, well-functioning water, sanitation and hygiene services at all the district's healthcare facilities. After all, a healthcare facility without adequate water, sanitation and hygiene is not a healthcare facility. Rumpi District is leading the way with this innovative approach to improving service levels. We can all learn from this effort and work together to meet the needs of the whole country.
Let's have a round of applause, please. Okay, Nancy and Sean, welcome. So Nancy Gilbert, you're the Executive Director of Transform International, and Sean Irwin, Associate Professor at Royal Roads University, all the way from Canada, so welcome to Stockholm. Fantastic documentary, Streams, Strengthening, Training, Empowerment, and Monitoring Support. Make sure I get the acronym right. How did you two first come together, to use a phrase, in terms of the university and Transform International to sort of work together on this project?
Well, we actually ended up, what it was is a collaboration of complementary skills with a common goal, right? So working together to address different elements of what was needed for this particular project. So as you mentioned, I'm a professor at Royal Roads, which is in Victoria, BC, Canada. And it's a small, dynamic, action research-oriented university. And I've been working in development for many years, and Nancy and I actually knew each other a little bit before that through that common interest. But what happened was an opportunity came about to apply for funding to implement, but more importantly, really test this innovation. And what it was an opportunity called the Fund for Innovation and Transformation, funded by the Manitoba Council for International Cooperation and Global Affairs Canada, which is part of the Government of Canada. And it's a really actually important, novel, and exciting program because it was, instead of funding for implementing a project, it was actually funding to truly test, empirically and objectively test whether an intervention actually works. And this is a really missing key element of funding in development work, I find. So we got together on that project, were successful in the funding, and then we were able to empirically, objectively test what is a pretty dynamic and somewhat complex, but necessarily complex and dynamic program for the problem that it seeks to solve. So that's how we ended up working together.
Very good. And we'll come on to, in the panel, a bit more about the sort of the collaboration, different partnerships, what worked, what could be improved. But let's hear from you, Nancy. In terms of the choosing Northern Malawi as a test bed, Transform International was already involved in the country to start with, right?
Yes, we had been working there for a couple of years. Transform's a fairly young organization, but some of my colleagues in TI are Rotary members, as am I, and had worked through Rotary in northern Malawi for about 15 years, mostly on community wash. So we're well aware of the challenges of sustainability in wash, which I think we all are. Yeah. So, you know, that knowledge and those relationships were there. Malawi's a very safe country. It's a wonderful country, I have to say. And, you know, they have a keen interest in gender and equity, which is related to this topic. And I had found that government and my colleagues on the ground were really receptive to learning new ways of addressing the issues they felt responsible to address. I mean, how do you improve quality of life? And certainly having well-functioning healthcare facilities is a piece of that puzzle.
I think it was a bit of a sort of a reality check when you provided the data on how many healthcare facilities globally actually lack access to safe water and how that is a fundamental part of what a healthcare facility should provide, right?
It's interesting you should mention that, because the first thing, after doing a global review of the literature on sustainability, we went to Rumpi district and got on the ground research. And we took it back to the government leadership team, and I was really shocked when they said, nobody does this. We're thrilled that you've brought this data back, but you know, nobody ever does this. Well, earlier today, there was a session here on how NGOs and government should be collaborating or working together, and it just reminded me how we forget sometimes that it's so important to share that knowledge and that information that, you know, we may gather as part of our work.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Sean. We'll hear from you guys in the panel later. And now, last but no means least, we're going to be traveling all the way to Oceania for a video that looks at going beyond community-based wash planning in the Solomon Islands.
The Solomon Islands is one of many countries lagging behind in terms of its wash services. Around 80% of the population reside in rural communities across its 9 provinces. In the rural areas, only 54% of people have access to an improved water supply. With funding from the Australian government's Water for Women Fund, Plan, Live and Learn, International Water Centre and Solomon Islands National University have collaborated to develop the Community-Based Water Security Improvement Planning, or CBSIP, a contextualized approach to inclusive and climate-resilient water safety security planning for Solomon Islands. It is a 7-step process that helps water users and managers in villages think about the key risks to the local water security of all users. The main focus of the process is on capacity development and engagement of community members to understand and manage their water system and achieving water equity. The process is currently ongoing and at various stages. So far, there are impacts seen from the process.
Inside local villages where we implement sewage hem, water committee hem staff, but hem garem no poor representation. Lost a lot of people with the different age groups here, or the gender and the interest and what not other interest lo hem, and also other skills where okita bin garem. So sewage process, hem make sure hem involve him now okita people yeah, and hem strong him now water committee for involving of the different age groups yeah. So time if I do now risk assessment and hazard identification law, quality blow water and quantity blow water and availability blow water. Hem expose him na community law what kind something na or the savek when savek kosim siki from other animals and other peoples and also time water hemideti. So everything ya hem save kosim siki and in bara no good too much low healthy blood people. So sip him also help him to community for understanding that other natural something of some drought. Him save make him to water supply for him low and also for make him to tank by him empty and also down by him empty too.
Siwisip is seen as an enabler for individual communities to take the lead and be responsible in managing their own water system. In one of the monitoring villages, upon completion of water quality tests of their water source and water access points, it stirred up curiosity. People look forward to the results. In doing so, it prompted action, practical improvements such as cleaning dams to reduce contamination. Siwisip has established a favorable platform for both youths and women to be actively involved in the water management.
Look at the water bulan fala lo place usin. Apo managing water lo village bulan fala usin. Apo look at the cleaning buto ta pipe bulan fala. Apo maintaining water pipeline bulan fala usin. Usin mi happy time mi otan choosing mi to become water committee lo place.
So since wakablo siwisipem happen, hem improve na participation blo oketa women, youth and oketa man.
Many communities in the Solomon Islands are adapting to changing weather patterns. As the changing climate gets worse, including challenges of increasing water demand due to population growth, as well as increased land use activities, many shared water resources are threatened. This is why we are doing the research.
Under the DFAT funded Water for Women Impact and Innovation Grant Project, these same partners and Earth Water People in Solomon Islands are undertaking a research project called Community to Catchment Planning for Inclusive Climate Resilient Water Systems in Solomon Islands, which builds on the Community-Based Water Security Improvement Planning, or CWSIP, but now with the intention to link it with the broader catchment scale discussions and promote water stewardship, incorporate consideration of climate change, population dynamics, and other future changes. The research project aims to raise the importance of understanding the water catchment area, how it connects, where people's water comes from, importance of protecting that resource, whether visible at the surface or invisible under our feet.
So the imaging work of the research project looks at enhancing the existing approach of CWSIP to improve sustainability, inclusiveness, and opportunity to plan for future scenarios. This means consideration into past and current challenges as well as future scenarios. This approach tends to re-engage communities to motivate action planning for climate change through shared stories, ideas from other communities and places in Solomon Islands as well as the Pacific Islands. And also it helps increase the knowledge around impacts of climate change, the likely future hazards, what vulnerable and resilient water system may look like through workshops. And it helps communities think about what future hazards are there and how they can affect their individual water supply systems, people's well-being, and the wider catchment systems. So this approach aims to instill, number one, future is important. Number two, planning for future scenarios ensures no regrets, actions now. Number three, it requires a collective action. Everyone has responsibilities. And number four, water for everyone is important.
In addition to the water action planning process, which is based more on water supply protection at the community level, there need to be a more holistic approach to protect catchment level water resource management and water stewardship. The main idea here is with everything that is happening within the catchment, both man-made and natural fresh water quality and quantity is being compromised. So how can we keep it safe? Well, by using photography and photo voice to document, discuss the current state of health of their water source and catchment, communities have a platform to discuss environmental change that has happened over their lifetime, as well as their concern, future aspirations for their catchment. By discussing with other communities, they have a platform to reflect on the connections between themselves and their environment and with others in the catchment. This process aims to engender water stewardship through bringing communities together to consider that water is everyone's responsibility and to discuss individual and collective actions they can take to conserve, to protect, and regenerate their water resources.
Round of applause, please. A very moving video towards the end as well. Well, big welcome to Collin Benjamin. He's the Research Assistant Lecturer for Solomon Islands National University. So, Solomon, it's a long flight for you, so I appreciate you making it here to all the way over from the Solomon Islands to Stockholm. Now, Collin is a Chelsea Football Club supporter, but we'll let him off for that for this evening. But I was interested to actually see on this documentary you were involved in producing it, filming it, editing it. You even starred in it. I mean, quite a lot of different roles, right? But when you sort of look back on this journey with the video, what were some of the sort of key learnings and highlights for you, being involved in all those different parts?
Thank you. By the way, I'm not a filmmaker, but I'm a researcher, and I teach in a university in Solomon Islands. But I love making videos because that's what it unites and connect communities. Yeah, despite they geographically they separate from each other, but when you put them in the videos, they are like one. They're saying the same thing, so it's connect them. And when we shoot these footages and when we develop this video, these people in the communities, they are so excited to be part of this video. And most of the footage we cannot put inside because it's too short, so we just use only a few of those we interviewed. But they want to share the stories. They want to share the stories, their experiences, to other people and other communities. Yes, so me too, I love it. I really learn from them and they learn from us. We all connect and we all interact together. And this one, it's really make them, because for a community to be empowered in managing water system, first they need to be connected. They need to be united. And video is one good tool to use. Because when they watch people in the video, they watch themselves, they part of speaking out their voices about water issues in the community. They really appreciate it. Their voices have been heard through video.
Well, there's probably a big sense of pride when they see themselves and their friends and family see them on the videos to help sort of share that knowledge you mentioned about storytelling. For me, I love the phrase that the work you did stirred up curiosity, and stirring up is such a powerful thing. People become curious into the sort of the impacts on their water quality and quantity and want to take an active role as well. And there was a phrase, people actually looked forward to the results, and it prompted action as well. So just coming back to the, I mean, you mentioned you're not a videographer, but I don't think it shows that the passion comes through in the video edit. But what was some of the, for you, like the key thing you learned, or that one highlight just from going through that journey that you can look back on, you think, that was my aha moment, or something new?
Yeah. So this video, it portrays the strong partnership between key partners. Like we have several partners in this project. We have Water for Women, they're really funding this project, and then we have Australian Aid, Plan International Pacific, and Live and Learn, and then Solomon Island National University, and even the rural communities. Yeah, so like we really support each other. We support the community so that they can be resilient, managing the water system to be more sustainable and can address the risk of climate change during this climate era. So yeah, so the communities, like first time when governments and other NGOs, they went to community in the past, up until now, like they went to communities and they educate them using black and white print. But just imagine 80% of the community live in rural areas, and only 70% of them, they have limited literacy level, and they cannot understand what is on the print. Yeah, but if you show them something in the video, they really appreciate it. They watch it and they learn, and it empowers them. Yeah, it empowers them. It makes them do actions, and it really works. Yeah, it really works. We have so many impacts that we can share, but we don't have time. But if you want us to share, we can share it. Yeah, it really works. So it's really motivate them. It's really inspire them. Even it convicts them. Yeah, convince them. Yeah, they have all these mixed feelings when they watch the video. And after that, they just set up the action plan, and they then do something. Full community. Yeah, no one is left. So there is a reflection of social inclusion inside too.
That's a really good point, because we're going to talk about the power of video but you mentioned there where you have a very high percentage of the population living in rural areas, and perhaps other means of communication don't really hit home with the messaging. Actually, the videos showcasing fellow citizens and other communities actually taking a role can sort of empower and drive that change. So we're going to come on to some Q&A with the audience shortly, so please get ready to ask questions and feed into the panel. But Sean, let's sort of come to you, because we've just talked before, really, the video as a storytelling medium, and as we've seen with the videos, can really drive awareness and engagement beyond sort of other communication methods, such as reports. And we're not saying reports are bad, but just to be a little bit controversial, it's 7 o'clock, almost the evening time. But so can you perhaps comment on that and really the role of the video that you've used in Malawi as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you said, I mean, reports aren't all bad. Some can be a little baby bad, or at least long and difficult to get through. But nonetheless, I mean, it's often necessary. And most communication about programs, about impacts of development comes through in the form of either reports or sometimes academic publications. And those usually reach a fairly narrow audience. And what the power of this kind of thing for me is it's kind of the democratization of the work that you're doing, the ability to reach people, to communicate to people that otherwise don't have the time or the interest or the access to read a report. And so I think that that's a really powerful tool. And this sort of reinforces the work that we do. I mean, if the more people that we can reach, the more that they're going to advocate for the work that you do, the more that they're going to communicate with their elected leaders, and the more that the elected leaders are going to influence the people that give out a lot of the money that leads to these improvements. And so that's a very powerful thing. It sort of pulls back the curtain a little bit on what we do and makes it more accessible to more and more people. And as you were pointing out too, it's pretty powerful in the act of doing it as well, in the participatory nature of it. It gives people a voice. People aren't just a number on a piece of paper anymore in a report that is read or maybe not read by some person at a funding agency, but rather it's reached to the general public. Maybe a silly analogy, but a video about a cat playing the piano uploaded a few years ago on YouTube has more views than probably the most impactful research paper ever written, or at least more views than the most significant research paper ever written. And of course, I'm not saying that they're equivalent by any means, but the power of social media, the power of video and so on is pretty profound.
It still doesn't make sense to me that Baby Shark
exactly.
video has more views than all. The videos we're showcasing tonight should, have more views than something around a kid singing about a baby shark. But anyway, and this is not to say that I think videos can only go so far as a teaser, as an introduction, and obviously there's a need for a detailed level of information and data that only comes with reports, right? It shouldn't be seen as one or the other. Actually, they're one of many tools that work together in the sort of communication toolbox.
Yeah, I think that they're complementary. I think you have to understand that different forms of communication reach different types of audiences for different reasons. If we're trying to show that objectively, empirically, the impact of what we're doing is there, that it's rigorous, how exactly it's affecting people, then maybe that's most appropriate in an academic article or something to that effect. If we're trying to convince donors and agencies that what you're doing is impactful, is effective, is worth funding, then of course the reports are there. But I think that for a broader audience, and I don't think that they're mutually exclusive either. I think that I'm sure that there's plenty of ministers, Fatma and I were talking about this earlier, there's plenty of governmental ministers and decision makers who probably would prefer to see a 10-minute video
than to go through the papers and the reports.
That's right.
They read so much.
But I think another important topic is the fact that even communication has changed a lot in the last years. And of course, technology is part of it. So not embracing the new way of communication, not embracing technology, and not embracing social media platforms to go to another kind of audience that as well should be a part of any project. I mean, this sounds a bit selfish and outdated. We must collaborate, and everyone has to be open, to find ways, because the mission is one, and the importance of the mission is to transmit a message. So let's find all the ways that are available out there to go to our audience, to reach as many as possible so that we can spread the message easier. And unfortunately, not everyone likes to collaborate or is as open-minded as some of the great people I've met here, for example, where I come from, with a different age or a different status quo, so academics or professors, they call social media, you know, a waste of time. So this is not important. People out there that are on TikTok or on Instagram, they kind of don't deserve this kind of important topics or important studies. But this is wrong, because even these young people can be involved. And with our project, we really showed a good example how you can involve all different range of ages in this project. And we even had a contest, an art contest, a creative contest, as part of our campaign, when everyone could write a poem, draw something, or make something, an art craft or whatever. And we were surprised of how many people contributed at this contest, because they wanted to be part of it. And one of our little big wins, as I call it, is we made menstruation from a taboo content to cool content. So reaching out to young people, not talking about the stigma and why you think in a certain way, always putting the finger, you know, and shaming people because of lack of knowledge, because it is important to understand that people who have their stigmas and judge, it's because they don't have information. So instead of doing this, we made it fun. Like, come and contribute to this thing that is important, and you will be part of this thing that it's a global movement. So suddenly everyone felt important and that was doing something for this project, and everyone wanted to be involved, some with their stories, some, as you saw, come and talk to the camera. That is not an easy topic, because making people talk about such delicate issues and private and intimate, let alone the grandmother that mentioned periods for the first time in her life in our documentary. She never said menstruation or periods. In Albania, we call periods them. So it's just them. They don't have a name. You don't have to mention it. I have them. They are coming. And for that grandmother, it was the first time that she even said menstruation. So she could never spell it, let alone talk in the family or give her daughter information. And you saw how the stigma was inherited from the grandmother to the mother, and then to the young girl. She was ashamed to talk to her daughter, and her daughter was ashamed to talk to her daughter as well. So everybody kept it quiet and secret, as something that is a shame to talk about, and it's disgusting. You don't have to communicate with people for such things. We had girls that were shy to buy pads for themselves, because it comes in game, the morals, the religion. You know, when you go buy a pad and there's a male there, is the gender inequality, and you are considered rude or uneducated if you ask to the male to give you pads, you know, at the store. Or even if you find them for yourself in the supermarket, you have to put a newspaper or some bag where no one can see that you're buying pads, because it's such a shame having your periods.
Thanks, Fatma. And it was interesting to see in the video your journey on this and actually the shopkeeper asking to wrap up the sanitary towels as well. So I think it's an interesting point on kind of knowing the audience, using a variety of tools. And you mentioned about kind of gamifying it, creating a competition and making it fun to go from, was it taboo to cool, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Make everyone feel inclusive.
Exactly. So, Dibalok, in terms of, then let's come back to you, the power of video to help spread, to drive engagement and awareness on these different projects. Talk about how you kind of see that within Bangladesh and the project that you've just worked on and really giving those communities a voice as well.
Thank you, Tom. Actually, this tool, actually, you need to identify an audience for which what type of tool is more effective. So in our experience, we actually take this type of video on hygiene education to the communities who are not that literate. So they cannot follow or they cannot read or they were not in even school. Mm-hmm. Or women, they were kind of, they are disadvantaged, so they were not in school. So they actually did not went through the schooling process and learning about the biological changes in their body. So in those type of situation, if you bring a video or we take actually pico projectors, there is a small type of projectors which is easy to operate in a slum settlement or a remote settlement or remote village. And there you play that video. And then it invites attention by the settlement dwellers or even women and gets, because it is difficult for them to read and to know all these things. Mm-hmm. But I mean, and also for the school children, because we also work with the schools, and there we bring those informations on menstrual health management, on hand washing, on different sanitation issues. So there you bring the direct impact of a video to be shown there, and then immediately people realizes. Or even today, I was looking at a video here at the exhibition here in this conference, how a mason can put a sato pan. What are the steps? Mm-hmm. And then you bring that video to the community. Often we find that the masons are not that much trained on standards of sanitation. So that also helps bringing, improving their understanding of why sato pan is better than a normal Indian pan. So I think in that specific space, either working with the communities who are really disadvantaged, who are poor, who are not that much literate, and also with the, in our experience with the school children, to make them more sensitive, more aware about the issues related to hygiene and related to sanitation and related to safe water supply. So those are my kind of understanding in relation to. But for the reports, actually, the people who are at the top, they actually read, sorry to say that, report that they have no time, so they read executive summary. and that's it. So, but not about the academics, because academics, their bread and butter is their thoughts, and they are based themselves on the data. And they actually go through data, and then they establish the truth, mm-hmm. What is the actual real truth. But for the audiences who are normal public, who are not that much literate, who are not that much sensitive or aware about the problems that relates to the sanitation, relates to the, we call it environmental enteropathy, in terms of where there is no sanitation. The children body is fighting with the worms ingested into their body, and all of their energy is going to fight that infection. That we call environmental enteropathy, and that is the problem of nutrition, and that brings stunting and wasting in our countries which are not that developed. So I mean, you have to find out the strength. This tool has its own strength, but when you want to apply that strength, that is important.
You have to know the community, know the purpose, know the ambition, and then use it effectively.
Exactly.
We're going to come on to a bit of discussion on sort of impact of the videos and the projects as well. But I'd like to just get a couple of questions, if we can, or comments from the audience. I'm just going to go into high definition very quickly. Give me a better view. There we go. Do we have any questions? There we go, the bright lights. We must have a couple of questions. Here we go. If you could just say very clearly where you're from and who you're addressing, that would be great. Oh, can we make sure the microphone's on, guys?
Do I need to do anything with it? All right, can you hear me now?
Yes,
okay.
All good.
Not holding it close enough. My name is Marla Smith-Nilsson, and my comment is really, I have a comment, not a question, for everyone. I just want to say thank you so much for the work that you're doing, for making a short film so that we could all learn about it. And as I was watching them, I was thinking that, you know, one of the sort of criticisms that I always have at these kind of conferences is that we don't include enough voices of, you know, field staff, or most importantly, the people who are actually experiencing these issues. As you know, we're here having conversations about solutions, and we're missing those voices. And you've brought those voices, and I hope that you can express thanks to everyone who participated in the making of those films and let them know that their contributions were important to our learning. I wish I could ask the people in the films directly now. I have questions for them. Maybe we can do that in the future with technology. But anyway, I just wanted to make that comment that I found hearing from them directly so powerful, and I wasn't expecting that. So thank you.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah, round of applause, I think, for that lovely comment. We have a question just from here as well, or a comment or a praise maybe.
Yes, a praise first of all to all of you. Thank you for the amazing videos. My name is Joost. I work for the Waternet, the public utility of Amsterdam. And I have a question for Fatma. I really liked your movie and how you are able to talk about taboos with people in Albania. And maybe within my company there are also some things that I would like to address, but I have a question about creating a safe space, as I feel like I'm an engineer myself. We had a lot of economists, and sometimes we feel it's difficult to create a safe space to name the things that should be named and have difficult conversations. So I was wondering, maybe with a grandmother, or like, what do you say to her for her to make her feel safe to say such things in front of the camera? Because I think even with the camera on it, it creates like extra pressure. And how do you create such a safe space?
Thank you for the question. I work in the media. I'm a journalist, TV host, and TV author, and it's been like 17, 18 years now and counting. So I've been interviewing different personalities from different areas, starting from academics, people involved in sports, politics, and I know how difficult it is for people to be in front of the camera and let alone share their intimate experience. What I always try to do with my public, even with the people that are following me in social media, and what I have created as a public person in Albania, is a safe environment where they don't feel judged. We don't shame anyone. I talk very, I don't know, give me a second, very direct to people, you know, without big words or acting like I'm some kind of celebrity and you come to meet me as a fan. No, I treat everyone as a friend, as someone I know, and being friendly with them and giving them this confidence, you give power to someone. And sitting down with them and talking about your background as well, which is one of the things I think we have in common. A local knows the language of its own country. So you know the people, you know the background, you know the history, you know the issues, you know the taboos, you know the difficulties because you've been through it. I mean, maybe in an easier way or in a difficult way as them, but you've been there, you know how it works, so you know your people, you know your country. And when you speak to people in that language, I mean, they feel safe, and they know that you are doing this for a greater cause. We had a situation 2 hours before the interview with the grandmother. She said, no, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I know I promised I would be there, but I cannot do it. I cannot go in front of the camera and talk about ububu, we say in our country. It's such a shame. I feel ashamed. And I told to her, you feel ashamed from who? Who will shame you? So who will come and tell you this is a shame? She said, my friends. Your friends? I said, how old are your friends? So you're thinking about your friends that are 80 years old, with all the due respect, and you're not thinking about your niece and the other generations that are to come, so they won't go through what you've been through. I know how difficult it was for you, that you, not even once in your lifetime, you have mentioned the pain you felt during menstruation. And she had tears in her eyes, and she said, yes, I was an animal in that house. I worked so hard, even for the water. She had to walk 1 hour from her house to go get clean water and come to her home and then make use of that water. And I said, do you want the same thing for your niece or for the other generation to come? And she said, no. Do you know that your daughter suffered as well in silence because she was ashamed to talk to you? And the daughter, for the first time, looked at her and she said, yeah, because I've hid it from you, as you saw it, for a year or even more, because I was so ashamed. And she asked, but why were you ashamed? Because you would never talk to me, and we never mentioned that. Not here, not anywhere. And then I shared my story and how I was afraid the first time I got my period. And I thought I would die like a lot of other girls when they have their periods for the first time. And she laughed, and she felt like she could connect with me. It is very important when you talk to people and when you bring them in front of the camera to make them feel safe and not used, to make them feel empowered that they are doing a great thing. So they are part of a bigger thing that goes beyond her and me. So this is the way we had her at the interview, and then she laughed and she had a blast. She even had her friends looking at her while we were interviewing her, and I told her, now you are the main star of the city.
There you go. Thank you,
So
Fatma.
it became easier.
Hopefully some good insight. And I think part of the wider Let's Talk Period campaign is the fact of using kind of nationwide, to use the word influencers, Fatma in Albania, and there was the lady in Nepal as well, people who are perhaps reachable and relatable to citizens of that
yes.
country as well. So thank you, Fatma. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, we have, if we go to the back first, and then we'll come to Jan at the front.
So, first of all, thank you very much for bringing the word menstruation in this global platform. It's changing while we are talking a lot. So, thank you very much for this beautiful work. But my question is for Collin. Being a hydrogeologist, I'm curious on how you are incorporating groundwater into your research. And it's already a wonderful job that you are translating research into action, and you are solution oriented while doing research. So to what extent groundwater is important in your research in Solomon Island?
Thank you very much. Yeah, so, so basically, as we all know, that research is trying to looking for gaps and try to do innovation and come out with new things to improve something. Yeah, so like we're doing research in the Solomon Islands, and it's mostly funded by Water for Women and International Water Center and Australian Aid. They're all here, and we did this research since 2018. Yeah, so in the Pacific Islands, it's called Pacific Water Management Plus. Yeah, and if it wasn't for this research, we won't find lots of the gaps that happening in the Solomon Islands, as well as in Vanuatu and Fiji. There are lots of gaps. Yeah, like the government, when they installed water supply system in the communities, then that's all. They didn't do any monitoring. Yeah, so the community themselves, they couldn't really do much to manage their water supply system. But they need support as well. Yeah, they need training. Yeah, they need follow-up visit. Yeah, they need some motivations. And you got to provide tools, and video is one of the tools, CVSIP is one of the tools. Yeah, something like that to change the behavior, to give them sense that water is very important in their lives. But nothing has been done like that. Yeah, so there's a really big gap. Yeah, so when we did research since 2018, we found that there's a big gap, and so we look for ways, we design tools, we have lots of approaches and tools, and Live and Learn, Planning International are using some of them. Yeah, and even the provincial government currently in our new project, they are using some of the tools. Yeah, so we are filling the gaps right now. We are filling the gaps, so there's a strong link with the research and water. Yeah, so now communities are becoming motivated, inspired with all these tools, yeah, and they have action plans. But before, they have no action plans. Nothing has been documented for the communities to look at it and do something. Nothing. They just go and talk to them, that's all. They forget it, everything. Yeah, and they don't take ownership of the project. Nothing. Yeah, they were not empowered also. Nothing. But when we did research, we designed tools for them, we helped them, simple tools. Yeah, simple tools that they themselves should do it. Yeah, and then sustainably, for long term, they don't depend to external support like that.
Okay.
It's really challenging. Yeah.
Collin, thank you very much. So finding out where the knowledge and the data gaps are, and then making sure using the tools available to try and fill them. Thanks so much.
Can I comment on
Please do. Yeah.
Actually, this is my submission that in a given community, in a given poor community, yes, people are getting mobilized and they take care of their own system. But I feel that there is a limit to it. Say, for example, in our instances, we set up a system and which is run through solar power. But if the solar system is somehow damaged, it is really difficult for them to repair that. They may take care of simple repairs, because in our example, they actually have their own meters for each of the connections. And for their meters, they know how much volume of water they used in a month. So they deposit a certain amount of money. But the capital problem, capital measures, that is, if we leave that on their head, that will be not a justice. Because there is a government, there is a local government. They also operate on the tax system. And worldwide, more than 96% of the cost is being shouldered by the national governments in WASH. So, yes, it is true that operation and maintenance depends on the community mobilization or on the active participation of the people who are using that system. That is okay. But I will submit that there is a kind of demarcation line between the local people, because what we are essentially talking is talking about the users who are really poor. We are not talking about the middle class, or we are not talking about the people who are rich people and the rich community. And in my country, if you look at the budget used by the national government in WASH, first of all, it is really difficult to understand where from this budget is coming, number one. Number two, as the facility improvement tool that was, screened today, there also in my country, in a healthcare system, let's say in a sub-district healthcare system, there is no engineer. So you have to find out that engineer from Department of Public Health Engineering. So what I am trying to submit is, yes, it is true that our communities, they are quite innovative, they are quite interested, and if you explain different things, they will engage themselves because it is their problem. Without water, I cannot imagine myself. Without toilet, I cannot imagine myself. In my home, we are 3 people and we have 3 toilets. And we are prescribing for the people who are living in slums or squatters or hard to reach places. How many people? I work in Rohingya refugee camps in Bangladesh, and each toilet brings 40 people. So I fully agree with you what you are saying, but I like to submit to you that there is a demarcation line. And there comes the role of the local government, there comes the role of the utility agency, and there comes the role of national government and their political will to make the system functional.
Dibalok, thank you for the viewpoint there on the sort of, I think, agreeing that there needs to be decentralized responsibility for communities to empower themselves, but at the same time, when technical operation and maintenance support is needed, there is the support there. Okay, that's a good point. I want to just make sure we get everyone's questions in. We had a question in the front, Jan, I think. Do we still have the microphone? And then we've got a few minutes left just to quickly talk about impact, and I'll come to you, Nancy, on that.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jan Schlenk. I'm working as a WASH policy advisor at GIZ and have been also involved in the Let's Talk Period campaigns in Nepal, Albania, and in the Philippines. And I would just wanted to add to your comment, which I really thank you for this. I mean, and I think it's to add another perspective. I think also for the people involved and the communities involved in this project, it's again also another. It helps another perspective, like Samar. It helps them to also secure this safe spaces, like you said. I mean, the campaign created this, but then when they know that it was accepted here at the Stockholm World Water Week and in other film festivals and so on, I mean, you get this recognition and suddenly your status also changes in this. So I think it's a win-win from both sides. So I think we should explore this more and more, I think, in the future. So completely agreeing with you.
Okay, excellent. Sounds like a good conversation to continue and connect after the event. Thank you, Jan. We've only got time has literally flown by, as we thought it would. We've only got several minutes left. But Nancy, I want to bring you back in, just in terms of, I think when it comes to innovations and videos that are showcasing these innovations, such as streams, there's always a big question and discussion over the impact. So it'd be good to sort of get your viewpoint on what you've observed within northern Malawi and the Streams campaign when it comes to sort of impact and how you're sort of measuring that it's been a success.
Interesting question. I mean, we just finished the video before the summer, so it's pretty new for us, and that's the first time we've used a video to try to share that kind of information. It was originally thought of because I was looking for an advocacy tool within the country. I mean, what we'd ideally like to do is secure some funding to scale up this innovation across Malawi and possibly elsewhere, but focusing on Malawi first. So it seemed to me that it was a tool that could engender some pride in the participants. It could, even in the government staff in the district itself, who have all kinds of different issues to deal with, but if they know that colleagues at the national level are seeing this video, they're going to take some ownership and some pride, which is a great thing in my view. So what we've found even in this short period of time is that it's just such an easy thing to be able to send someone the link and they'll watch a 12-minute video. I mean, we've already talked about the challenges of reports and various other means of communicating. So so far it's been great, and I'm hoping that will continue.
And sort of moving forward, the next stage for Streams and that project, can you talk a bit about that?
In terms of the video or the project itself?
Well, both, in terms of using the maximizing the exposure on that existing, but also scaling up and then moving to other locations with Streams.
I would say, I'm open to ideas anybody might have about how we could actually use it to share that knowledge and share awareness of the program. I mean, the video doesn't include a lot of statistics or what proof we have found of the impact of the program, but I mean, we know the program works and we have a good sense of why. So to use it as an introduction and hopefully a way to foster further questions and further interest on the part of other implementers or potentially funders would be great. So,
very good. Well, you heard it there to the audience. Call out for interest and funders and partners. Collin, let's come back to you. We're sort of in the final few minutes. And in terms of the video, but also the project in the Solomon Islands, the impact that you've sort of witnessed from the delivery of that particular innovation.
Thank you. So, the video has made some impacts in the communities that we worked with. It really changed the behavior of the people in the community. Like first time, they don't really have the opportunity to raise their voices, to share their perspectives and their feelings, and they then become really working together. But when they are part of the video process, they all can share their voices, and they really appreciate that. And after that, they start do actions. They come with action plan, examples. They started to bury the pipes on the surface of the ground. They started to preserve trees along the river. These simple stuff that they can do. That's how the videos really impact the community. So we have several videos. This is just one of it. Yes, we have been using videos to really help community members to be inspired and really empowered to do actions. So now we started to use video to other provinces, and provincial government has been using it. Just adding to my friend here, that's one of the problems we see in the Solomon Islands, like in terms of capital, money is a problem. So we see that there's a gap that the government's not really supporting the community. So now we are working with the government with a new project to improve on that. The government, you have a part, you have a role to support community as well. So we are into that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Collin. So we've got a couple of minutes left. I would like just to hear from each of you very quickly within a sentence, and I promised I wouldn't do any curveballs, but well, broken the promise. But just in terms of a parting thought for the audience on the power of video to communicate WASH, what would be your parting wise words? And we'd like to just work through everyone. I know, so apologies, I just thought I'd throw one out there just for the last couple of minutes. Dibalok, let's hear from you. We have to be very quick.
On my side, actually, this was a pilot from our side, the video we screened here. And there we brought the technology, number one. Number two, it is easily you can operate that in a remote, hard-to-reach places where there is no electricity. And then there is a community mobilization. There is women who took the lead in that project. And it is also the principles of inclusivity already. And this conference theme is, if I may read, that seeds of change, innovation, solutions for a water-wise world. And what we demonstrated, that in our place there was no water for them. And they were living a life of ancient time. At the same time, when in our country, in Dhaka, in rich areas, one person used 500 liters of water, whereas these people were not having even 10 liters per day. So you see, what is the disparity? And that disparity must go. And it is possible that this disparity withers away. And only this solution that we brought before our government, that they may think, and there is no dearth of resources, but there is dearth of political will to support this group of people.
Dibalok, thank you. So to paraphrase, we need to rid the world of water injustice and disparity. Yes. Very good. Fatma.
It's been a year and since we made the documentary, and I'm happy to say that in real life we've actually impacted the life of very young girls who didn't have toilets and were missing school, but now they can access school freely and they don't have this problem anymore, thanks to GIZ and the water and in their toilets. So this is an empiric fact. Then we are very proud that we brought this topic on the table. So people are discussing in my country this topic in their families, on TV shows, on radio shows, and in school as well. And we had a lot of invitation, not only from schools in Albania, but Kosovo as well. And I hope and I pray that we will make Kosovo another country in our map. And other thing that is really important and that we really feel glad and happy to make it happen is that finally something like menstruation that seems like an easy topic or like a topic that it's taken for granted. I mean, you should know these things because it's your body, it's biology. It's given important and it's correlated to women empowerment, because having information of what is going on in your body, it makes you powerful over your body and over your decision. So I think we have, and I really hope to have a long way in front of us, and of course we are looking for partners and donors to not just be a documentary, but be present even in the field with brochure and information, because the key word is information.
Very good. Nice, powerful finish. Nancy, bring us home almost.
Great tool to have in your toolbox. But despite all the technology we have access to, it's actually not easy to do well. So my advice would be don't hesitate to reach out to experts like you.
Okay. Sean.
Well, as far as the power of the video and the significance of it, I would say awareness building. And I realize that that's maybe obvious and simplistic, but when I first got into this, I promise this isn't a long story, I was actually shocked that something like WASH in healthcare facilities wasn't really a big topic. And of course, the pandemic made it come to the forefront, but it's at the core of so many huge issues: maternal and infant mortality, the spread of disease, and so on and so forth. And so being able to communicate the significance of something that, in my opinion, was not receiving the attention that it deserves, and especially being able to communicate that there are solutions to this, not just communicating the problem itself, but pathways to solutions, makes videos like this very powerful tools. So I'm very pleased to be able to have been able to present our video.
Brilliant, well done, Sean. And finally, Collin, bring us home. Final words from you, just in terms of the kind of your leaving words on what you've learned from the use of video and the project in the Solomon Islands. And we have to be quick because I was seeing big red numbers flash at me that we're over here.
Thank you. So the communities themselves, they need support. Yeah, they need support from government and other external group. They can do everything, managing water supply themselves. They really need support. And when we visited the provincial government, they have a problem also. They have lots of challenges in terms of funding also. That's one cause that they couldn't do follow-up visit to communities. Yeah, so they didn't also aware of what's going on with the water supply system in the communities because they haven't gone to the communities. So my advice to donors or funders here, please spend more money in software approaches, like CVCP is one of it, and there's other to help community members to be empowered, motivated, yeah, and inspired, and they become one, connected, and then they do something. That's very important. Yeah, we can measure the outward indicators like this good water supply system, but they can't stay for long if there's no interconnectedness and also there's no empowering and motivation among the community members. First, we have to strengthen this one first. Yeah. So please spend more money on those software approaches.
Very good. Thank you, Collin. So collective action from a variety of stakeholders to provide the necessary support for communities. Very good. So we made it to the end. Let's have a huge round of applause to everyone left for Dibalok, Fatma, Nancy, Sean, and Collin for their films. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in, as well as online and on demand as well. Thanks for watching.